Greetings, everyone, and I want to welcome you to the first ever cryptocurrency convention. It's an honor to speak here. I'm glad everyone here is to seek firsthand information about digital currency directly from the source, the people here that run all the different coins. And it's an honor to be able to speak with everyone here. My name is Michael Brown, and I love working with computers and technology. It's been a part of my life ever since my first speaking spell that my dad gave me when I was young. My career has taken me from building computer systems for NASA all the way to engineering internet service for citywide service and county-wide service. I've even worked in the music industry to produce rock concerts. I'm from Tennessee. I'm a Nashville native, so it's kind of a country music place, but we also do rock and roll too. I've worked with other forms of technology and enthusiasts as far as solar and wind technology, even down to alternative forms of transportation such as electric bicycles. I love to immerse myself in technology, and I always want to be the driving force behind the development of new things. And that's why I'm here to talk about the TimeKoin digital currency system. What is TimeKoin? Well, as I said, it's an electronic digital currency system. The function of the system is to maintain an electronic register of accounts. The register itself is made up of encrypted transactions. These transactions, concept-wise, are as simple as a piece of paper that you would keep a register of, if you wrote it down, of other accounts transferring from one to the other. Now, because all these transactions are electronic, there's no physical medium that they're kept on. And there's actually a benefit for TimeKoin. That gives TimeKoin the ability to not have any processing fees with it. This type of transaction history storage is what allows direct person-to-person transactions to take place. So how did TimeKoin begin? Well, I was first exposed to the concept of digital currency in 2009, and that's when I read about this experiment called Bitcoin, and I was very excited about the concept. I love the idea of digital currency, so I set up my own dedicated computers. I joined the Bitcoin network, began mining the currency, back when you could still do it with CPUs. And the more I learned about Bitcoin, the more that I realized that the technology for digital currency is here. This isn't a sci-fi dream in the future. It's something that can be realized right now. And I was a big believer in the ideas behind Bitcoin, online, digital, encrypted currency system. I wanted to add more to it. And at the time, Bitcoin was not flexible enough to add the features to it that I wanted to put into it because of the way its framework is designed. So in February 2010, I began concept work on the TimeKoin digital currency system. And this currency system is actually not anything like Bitcoin. It's not derived off any Bitcoin code. It does not use any particular type of CPU or GPU mining. By May of 2010, I began my implementation testing. And that's where I had set up a public network, and I had people come in and help me beta test the currency system, look for bugs, look for improvements, make suggestions to it. By May of 2012, I also had an implementation release, and that is simply just the beta releases were finished. 2012 is when the final one was set, and from that point on, all the framework of TimeKoin was set in the transaction history afterwards. What features do TimeKoin incorporate? The first and most important feature was the clockwork transactions. Transactions within the TimeKoin network are processed every 5 minutes of every hour of every day of every year. No matter if it's one transaction or 12,000 transactions, they all get queued up every 5 minutes and processed in a predictable manner. Each transaction in the TimeKoin network can have a message embedded with it. It can be a shipping number, a tracking number. It can be a thank you message that you put in the transaction. The person that you send to can basically have anything sent to them in the form of text. Another interesting feature of TimeKoin is that there is no hardware currency creation dependence. TimeKoin does not use mining devices or mining computers for the currency. It's actually very different from that. TimeKoin is the only currency system I'm aware of that can do transactions and currency creation independent of each other. The creation of currency does not depend on the transactions that are going to be processed with it. Transactions can be processed every 5 minutes, like clockwork, without any currency ever being created. Another key feature that TimeKoin incorporates is the easy key integration. When I say easy key, I'm talking about the addresses that all cryptocurrencies have, where you have kind of a long, random-looking string of numbers and letters. This is important for cryptocurrency, and for us humans, it's a little difficult to wrap our minds around when we see a bunch of random numbers and letters. So I wanted a way that you could take a name and associate that with the key. And that is where the easy key came in. You could take your name or your email address, assign it to your key address, and if someone wants to make a payment to you, instead of sending it to a bunch of random looking numbers and letters, they could send it to your favorite phrase, or they could send it to your email address. It was an easier way for people to memorize that and to work with it. The software for TimeKoin is also self-updating. And I thought this was a good feature because a lot of times we like to download software and then maybe a new version will come out that's better than the previous, so then we have to go back to the site and get it and update over top of that. TimeKoin allows itself to be updated within its own software, so I thought that was a helpful thing for people that are new to the cryptocurrency to be able to use it. And another key feature of TimeKoin was the whole number amounts. TimeKoin does not use currency amounts that are divisible to millions or billions of a currency. Everything is whole numbers. So if you have one TimeKoin currency, it is one TimeKoin. It's not going to be one TimeKoin or 1/1,000,000th of a TimeKoin. Everything is whole numbers. What devices can TimeKoin run on? Another key part of TimeKoin is that it can run on any computer, PC, laptop, of practically any operating system. A full server for TimeKoin can even run on a Raspberry Pi. It can run on tablets. It can run on phones. It can pretty much run on any device in some form or fashion if you can get the source code, which is open source, and set it up to run on there. What kind of security protects TimeKoin? 4 years ago, when I was designing the TimeKoin protocol, the model of encryption was important for what I was going to choose. At the time, and even today, everyone's pretty familiar with the 128-bit or 256-bit encryption of websites, transactions, and those are great security systems, and as far as I know, have yet to be broken. But at TimeKoin, we went to the 1,536-bit encryption system. So you may ask, why go so high if 256-bit works fine? Well, the design of TimeKoin that eliminates the need for mining hardware facilitates the ability to run encryption levels this high and still be fast and efficient. On top of the encryption levels, I've also added the SHA-256 hashing that actually protects the encrypted data itself from tampering. So even if somehow someone found a way to break the encryption level of 1,536 bits, it still would have to contend with the SHA-256 hashing security ability to prevent tampering. TimeKoin also has global redundant public servers. That is where the decentralization of TimeKoin comes from. Around the world, Australia, Europe, and the United States, we have people running a TimeKoin server. It's a public server, it processes transactions, and it links up with other TimeKoin servers to keep the transaction history consistent. You can think of it as one giant cloud drive that everyone participates in. The source code for TimeKoin is, of course, open source. You can get it directly from the website, and you can go over the source code yourself to look for any bugs or problems with it. TimeKoin has an open bug bounty program that pays rewards. We offer up to $10,000 for anyone that can do a major exploit or hack on the TimeKoin network. This was started back in 2003, and to this day, no one has yet been able to claim that. We've had lots of people that have given us interesting input into ways to improve the software, but no one has been able to exploit the TimeKoin system to collect this reward. TimeKoin has been worked on for 4 years of software security and testing. I myself have worked on it. I consult with people at Vanderbilt University, professors of humanities and math, that we work on the mathematics that go into TimeKoin. We work on the security that goes into TimeKoin, and the humanity part is for the human psychology of what makes a good cryptocurrency when you want it to be easy to use and easy to implement. The TimeKoin market and economy. You're probably wondering, if I've never heard of TimeKoin before, who's using it? TimeKoin is already used globally around the world, anywhere from the United States to Australia. It has a stable market for prices, it has fast transaction processing times, and it's very easy to integrate into web stores or websites. People are already using it now. Is there anyone here using TimeKoin? What do you use it for?
Yeah, I bought art and music with it.
Art and music.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how did you get TimeKoins?
I just use them off my Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi?
Yeah, I use them on my Raspberry Pi.
So you created currency on your Raspberry Pi. How long did that take? About a year? She participated in the TimeKoin network, and after a year, as her reward for helping to maintain the security of the network, you get to buy stuff with it. So that's cool. Any questions and answers?
Yeah, I'm interested in the feature that you mentioned about having the wallet addresses be something really memorable, like an email address.
Yeah.
That's very intriguing to me, especially with the potential for that to be used conveniently with phones.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been creating anything like an app where people could send TimeKoin just by to somebody by just typing in their phone number, and that would convert it to your wallet address automatically? Or are you thinking about using that feature to tap into the market, like some of the other speakers have mentioned about people that are unbanked but they have a phone, so they might be able to use the phone for their money transmission needs?
Mhm.
It seems like a feature like what you have, where people could use a very short, easily memorable wallet address, would kind of tie into that. I just would be interested if you could comment.
Oh. I am working on an app for phones, but because TimeKoin can be accessed through a web browser, you can technically already use it on your phone if you're just willing to go for the web browser on the phone. And the software already has a place built into it where you can put in someone's name, and it'll translate that name to the long key address, and you can send to them. You can actually do that on your phone for the web browser. There just isn't an app for that yet. That is one thing that I'm working on. The messages that you can send with your transactions that I mentioned earlier is what ties into that. It's kind of, I guess you call it kind of a digital property field. You can type whatever message you want into it, but you can also use that field as a way to reserve what your key address is tied into whatever easy key name you want to use. Any other questions? Yeah.
What's the relevance of the name TimeKoin?
What's the relevance of the name? The currency of TimeKoin doesn't have the same type of regulation that other currencies have when it's about mining. When you send a transaction to someone, you're having that currency's network compete against other computers to churn out the next winning amount or the winning number, and then the others build off of that. That's where the blockchain comes from. It's also why your transactions are tied to it. Your transactions can't be processed until someone finds the winning block. In TimeKoin, we separated the two. Your transactions are always processed regardless of currency being created. So because of that, people will ask, well, how do you solve what they call the network double spend dilemma? How do I prevent people from double spending? In TimeKoin, because there isn't people competing against each other to mine, your transactions are processed every 5 minutes. So what happens if I try and double spend? I spend 5 here and I spend 10 there, and I've only got 5 to begin with. In TimeKoin, all of your transactions get a unique hash generated for the SHA-256. And that's propagated to the network and queued up. If you try and double spend those two transactions at once, only one of them will go through because they're sorted by those transaction types. So basically, TimeKoin prevents double spending instantaneously. It doesn't require a couple of transactions to figure out which transaction should be the correct one. And because it doesn't do that, it doesn't require all the extra processing to race computers against each other. Everything goes like clockwork every 5 minutes. Any other questions? Yeah.
I might have missed. How is TimeKoin created or generated? Was it?
Good question. How was it created? Everyone that's in the TimeKoin network basically acts like a server. And that server is processing transactions that are queued up. Every server in the world is running in lockstep. Every 5 minutes to the clock, they're going to process the transactions that are queued up. That's where the double spend prevention comes from. But that's also where the server who is providing this service to you, because you've got someone's house running this software on these servers around the world use lockstep time generation. So no matter how many people pile into the TimeKoin network or how many resources you have, everyone produces currency in very small and gradual amounts. It doesn't matter if you got 100 servers running this software. It doesn't mean you're going to make 100 times more than the person at his house running one single computer, for example.
So, but how is it actually generated if you're not doing?
Oh, like technically, how is it created?
Is it if you don't have block reward?
Exactly.
different.
The generation events that all these servers are in lockstep with have a one exception so that they can create the currency that goes from themselves to themselves. So during these generation events, all the servers around the world say, I'm generating currency because I'm helping to create the network. And all the other servers say, that's okay because you have been helping to process transactions. You may give yourself 1 unit of currency. They all do that in unison. You can't go out of step with that. If another server comes in and says, well, I'm going to make myself 1 million currency, the network as a whole prevents that because that's against the network rules for generation.
And how are the transactions recorded? I apologize.
Oh, that's fine.
More time, but if there's not a blockchain model.
Well, there's a transaction history, is what we called it a transaction history. The equivalent of Bitcoin would be the blockchain. You have your transactions and they're just stored in the transaction history, or as you would call it, the blockchain, and they stack on top of each other. Each one is assigned an SHA-256 key, and then on top of that, those are hashed on top of the previous 5 minutes, and it just builds a chain, just like Bitcoin would do. Any other questions? Cool. All right.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.